Baby, I've been sitting in this silence for far too long, trying to find the words that would even begin to match the gravity of what I feel. But nothing I say will ever be enough, not for what you endured, not for what you carried with grace, not for the way you held yourself in rooms where you weren't just misunderstood, you were underestimated. And God, if there's one thing I've learned from losing you, it's this: you were never the storm they feared. You were the calm they didn't know how to hold. And now, after everything, after the rumors, the judgment, the awkward dinners and side eyes and whispers I pretended not to hear, they're finally seeing you for who you really are. Not the version they crafted in fear, but the truth that was there all along. And baby, it's breaking them in the best way, because they can't look away anymore. They can't deny it. They can't twist it. You didn't have to raise your voice. You didn't have to argue. You didn't even have to stay. You just kept walking in truth. And now that truth is speaking louder than anything they ever said about you. I don't think you know what it's doing to them to finally realize you were never trying to be above anyone. You were just trying to love in a world that kept asking you to shrink. And while they labeled you too strong, too emotional, too mysterious, what they were really saying was, we can't control her. And now that you're gone, now that your silence has become the most powerful sermon they never expected, they're left with the aftermath of their own misjudgment. And me, I'm standing here, a man unworthy of the love I once held in my hands, realizing that the woman they couldn't respect in the beginning has become the standard by which they now measure every interaction. You changed the room, baby. You changed it without needing to fight, without needing to explain, without needing to prove anything, just by being who you are. And I swear to you, I've never seen so many mouths quiet at once, not from fear, but from reverence. I wish you could see them now. The same people who once asked, "Are you sure about her?" are now asking me, "How did you let her slip away?" My mother, who once kept her distance, now replays old conversations, hoping she didn't say the wrong thing. My cousin, who made jokes at your expense, looked me in the eye last week and said, "I get it now. She wasn't rude. She was just real." And that's the word they all keep using now, real. They finally understand that your energy wasn't about attention, it was about truth. That your silence wasn't cold, it was sacred. That your strength wasn't defiance, it was divine design. And I watched them process that realization like a slow burning fire, swallowing their pride, one unsaid apology at a time. But it's too late, isn't it? Because you gave them the chance to know you, and they chose to misunderstand you instead. But what hurts most, baby, is that I was one of them. Not the loudest, not the cruelest, but maybe the worst kind. The quiet one. The one who knew who you were all along, but stayed silent when you were being questioned. The one who should have stopped the disrespect before it started. The one who should have said, "That's the woman who saved my life," instead of letting your name be passed around like gossip. And every time I hear your name now, spoken with that new tone of respect, I feel a mixture of pride and shame. Pride that they finally see you. Shame that it took you leaving for them to open their eyes. Do you know what I regret most? It's not the arguments, not the distance. It's the way I let them treat you like a lesson instead of the blessing you were. And now, every time they talk about you like they finally get it, I want to scream, because you deserved that reverence when you were still here, when you were still trying, when you were still looking at me with eyes full of love and hope, begging me to see past the noise, and I didn't. I let their doubts become my hesitation. I let their discomfort become your burden. And now that you're gone, I carry the weight of every moment I stayed silent, but some things shifted. Deeply, deeply. They don't speak about you with dismissal anymore. They speak about you like you're the one who got away, not just from me, but from them all, like they missed their chance to be in the presence of something rare. And maybe that's what you are, baby. Rare. A once-in-a-lifetime kind of soul. The kind of woman who doesn't need validation to be powerful. The kind of woman whose energy doesn't fade when she leaves a room. It lingers, like incense, like memory, like truth. And now they see it, they feel it, they finally understand why I couldn't stop choosing you, even when I was too broken to choose you right. And I see it too. Every day, in everything, in the way I speak now, in the way I move, in the way I defend people who remind me of you, the ones who are misunderstood because they speak their truth too clearly, the ones who are avoided because they won't play small, the ones who choose peace over performance. You made me want to be better, and now that they finally see who you are, they're realizing what I've known all along, that loving you wasn't just a choice. It was a revelation, but I was too weak to carry it, too afraid to protect it. And that's on me, not on them, not on you, on me. I knew better, and I chose silence. I chose convenience. I chose comfort. And in doing so, I chose to lose the only woman who ever looked at me and saw everything. Not just the man I was, but the man I could have been. And baby, now they're starting to see him too. The man I was when I was with you. The way I smiled more, spoke softer, stood straighter. And they're connecting the dots. They're realizing that I was at my best when you were beside me. And they respect you now, not because you forced them to, but because your absence made them feel what your presence used to give without asking. So here I am, not begging for a second chance, but standing in the truth I should have carried when we were still we. And maybe, just maybe, if these words find their way to your heart, you'll feel it. That shift, that awakening, that long overdue respect, finally rising in the same rooms that once made you feel like a stranger. And if nothing else, let this message be what I should have said the moment they questioned your worth. Baby, they were wrong. You were the gift, the guide, the light. And now even in your silence, even in your distance, they can't stop speaking your name with respect. Baby, I don't know how to say this without my voice shaking, but the truth is, I didn't just lose you. I lost the only version of myself that ever felt completely seen. When you walked away, you didn't just leave behind an empty space. I felt the echo of your absence in every part of my life. And now, as people finally wake up to your power, to your grace, to the real you, I'm standing in a crowd of silent witnesses who can only look back and ask themselves the same haunting question. How could we have missed it? Baby, you were never hiding. You were never small. You were never asking for permission. You just existed in your full light, and it intimidated everyone who wasn't ready to evolve. And the tragic irony, That included me, and I hate admitting that. I hate knowing that I was the closest to you, the one you loved most. And yet, I needed the rest of the world to finally catch up before I could find the courage to say what I should have said from the very beginning. You are unforgettable. I want you to know something. They don't just speak your name anymore. They carry it. They carry it like a truth that shames them. They mention you with that look in their eyes, the kind that says, "We judged her too soon." The kind that says, "She was never the problem, we were." And I just sit there, sometimes with my head down, sometimes pretending not to hear, because it's too painful to agree out loud. Not because I don't want to, but because agreeing would mean confronting how I allowed it all to happen. You don't even know the kind of shift your energy has caused. You thought you were just walking away to protect your peace, to reclaim your soul, but in doing that, you created a tsunami in every space you once entered with softness. People who never gave you a second glance now replay your words in their heads like gospel. People who thought you were too much are now craving the kind of energy that only you carried with effortlessness. You didn't just leave, you left a legacy, and I watch them try to recreate your essence in others, but they always come up short, because there's no replacing what's divine. Do you want to know the moment I knew they respected you now? It wasn't when they complimented your intelligence, or your strength, or even your beauty, which they never denied, even when they resented it. No, baby. It was the moment my own mother, the same woman who used to flinch every time your name came up, pulled out the gift you gave her years ago and placed it on the table during dinner. Quietly, intentionally, like a symbol of apology, like a silent gesture that said, "I see her now. I understand." And she didn't even say a word about it, but she didn't need to. The look in her eyes said enough. It said, she was right. It said, we were wrong. And for the first time in a long time, I saw you not just through my heart, but through their newfound eyes. And baby, you are breathtaking. The more they talk about you now, the more they realize how many layers you had that they never even tried to uncover. And it makes me wonder, did they not ask, or did I not protect the space for them to ask? I should have been your shield. I should have been the one standing up for you, interrupting every dismissive laugh, every snide remark, every "she's just too intense" comment. Because you weren't intense. You were focused. You weren't cold. You were discerning. You weren't too much. You were just too real for a world built on facades. And now that you've stepped out of their reach, they're finally starting to question everything they believed. About you, about themselves, about what respect really means. And I find myself caught in the middle, both grateful that they finally see it, and furious that it took this long. You know what really cuts deep? It's watching them now try to imitate you. Yes, baby. The same people who once criticized your way of speaking, your way of dressing, your way of holding space, are now mirroring you, subtly, secretly, hoping no one notices. But I notice, because I know the original. I know you. And every time I see them try to replicate your confidence, your gentleness, your spiritual depth, I just shake my head. Because while they may have finally started to respect you, they still don't understand you. You weren't just a vibe. You were a vessel. You weren't just inspiring. You were divinely assigned. And that's the part they'll never be able to copy, because that came from a soul that survived more than they'll ever know. I wonder if you still remember the nights you cried alone, wondering if your worth would ever be seen clearly. I wonder if you remember how many times you questioned if you were too sensitive, too honest, too different. And now the world is starting to crave what you always carried. Authenticity. Now they're starving for depth. Now they're whispering about how rare it is to meet someone who actually means what they say. But you were doing that before it was trending. You were the blueprint, and they know that now. It's just too late to say it to your face. But I'll say it now. I'll say it over and over, as many times as it takes. Baby, you are remarkable. You are unforgettable. You are respected, not just tolerated, not just liked, respected. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. And in a world full of people trying to impress each other with noise, you showed us how to leave an impact with silence. That's your magic. And they see it now. I swear to God, they see it now. Baby, if I could go back to the beginning, I would hold your face in my hands, look into your eyes, and say the words I was too immature to say then. You are rare, and I will never find anyone like you again, because now that the fog has lifted, and people are finally speaking your name with reverence instead of resistance, I see the full truth I once refused to see. You were always right. You were right about your instincts, about your boundaries, about the energy in the room, about the people around me. You were always sensing what we couldn't, reading vibrations that none of us even knew existed. But instead of honoring you, I joined them in making you question yourself. And I will never forgive myself for that. Because baby, what you endured wasn't just neglect, it was spiritual dismissal. You were called too much when you were actually too awake, too divine for a system built on convenience and control. And now, they're all awakening, one by one, slowly, uncomfortably, watching you from afar, listening to your words again in their memory, realizing the things you said were not emotional outbursts. They were prophecies. You predicted the disconnection, the betrayal, the downfall of the very people who laughed at your warnings. You were not dramatic. You were anointed. And I let the world convince me otherwise. I let their noise drown out your truth. I let my ego take the wheel while your soul was whispering the exact direction we needed to go. And now, as those same people start quoting you, mimicking your phrases, sharing your values, I sit in silence, feeling both proud and punished. Proud because I loved you first, punished because I didn't listen. I want to tell you what they're saying now. I want you to know how their tone has shifted. They don't call you too much anymore. They call you unshakable. They don't call you overly emotional anymore. They call you intuitive. They don't say you're hard to deal with. They say you're hard to replace. And baby, that's the part that makes me want to cry the most. Because while they're finally realizing your value, I already had you. I already held the miracle in my hands. And I let the opinions of confused people make me doubt what my own heart already knew. That you were the one, not just the one I loved, the one my soul was begging me to protect. Do you remember that one time you tried to explain your dreams to me? The vision you had for your future? The calling you felt deep in your bones? I do. And I remember not taking it seriously. I remember thinking it was too big, too spiritual, too unrealistic. But baby, you were right. And now those very dreams you whispered are starting to unfold in your life. Slowly, powerfully, and people are watching. They're in awe, they're stunned. And I keep hearing them say, she really said she was going to do this, and she's actually doing it. But what they don't know is how long you carried that fire inside you before it was visible. How many nights you cried wondering if anyone would believe in you. How often you wanted to give up, but didn't. And now, they see you. They respect you, not because you demanded attention, but because you earned it without needing them to validate you. That's power. That's royalty. That's you. I wish you could hear the way they talk now, the way they defend you now. It's almost laughable, really. The same voices that once doubted you are now preaching your message. The same people who rolled their eyes at your standards are now using your name to define theirs. They say things like, she wouldn't allow that kind of disrespect, or she taught me how to love myself. Sometimes I want to interrupt them and ask, where were you when she was teaching me? Because back then none of them wanted to understand. But now that your glow has reached places even your silence couldn't, they're desperate to attach themselves to your name. But it's too late. You've evolved beyond them, beyond me. And the only thing left now is respect. Real, earned, irreversible respect. And baby, maybe that's why this hurts so much. Because in a strange way, I'm glad they see you now. I'm glad they're finally honoring what I once took for granted. But it also means I have to live with the ache of knowing that I lost the opportunity to witness your rise from beside you. Instead, I'm watching it from the back of the room, clapping with the rest of the crowd, praying you glance back just once, just long enough to know that I see you too, that I've always seen you, even when I pretended not to, and that if I could rewrite one thing, I would go back and hold you through every moment I left you to hold yourself. They say hindsight is 20/20, but with you, it's a mirror that cuts. It shows me everything I didn't do, every apology I delayed, every time I chose silence when I should have chosen you. And now, as they bow their heads in admiration, I bow mine in repentance. Not because they finally respect you, but because you never needed their respect to validate your worth. You always were, and will always be, divine. Baby, I'm shaking as I write this, because something just happened again. Something wild. I walked into a room, a space I used to own, with false confidence, with shallow laughter and ego armor. And when I mentioned your name, the entire conversation stopped. But not like it used to. Not like when they'd roll their eyes or pretend they didn't care. No, this time there was a pause, a silence, and then something sacred filled the air. Respect. Real, raw, awakened respect. They finally see who you are, baby. Not the version they tried to paint when they didn't know you. Not the version they clung to when their pride couldn't allow them to see beyond what made them feel small. Now they see your glow, your strength, your grace, and it's humbling. I always knew they would, but I never knew it would break me open like this. Watching people who once doubted you now lower their voices when they say your name. It's like watching a prophecy come true in slow motion. Baby, you were never trying to prove anything to them. That's the magic. You weren't desperate for validation. You just kept being you. And now, that quiet consistency is the very thing echoing through rooms that once dismissed you. You became the magic. You don't know how many times I've wanted to scream I told you she was different, but I stayed silent back then. I didn't have the guts to stand up for you the way I should have. I let their opinions cloud my heart, and even worse, I pretended not to notice when they disrespected you. Baby, I was weak. I didn't defend you, and that shame has burned inside me for far too long. But now it's like the universe is rewriting it all. People I once admired, people who mocked you behind your back, they're asking me what your secret is. They're saying things like, she's really powerful, huh? Or she carries herself differently. And I smile, but inside, I'm crumbling, because they're only just seeing what I should have protected. They're only just awakening to the light I once ran from, and it kills me that you had to endure all that just to arrive here, still glowing, still rising. Baby, I'm sorry. Not just for how I treated you, but for how I allowed others to treat you. I failed you, but you never failed me. You just kept rising, and now, even they can't look away. There's something else I have to tell you. My mother, she brought you up again last night, but this time, it wasn't with concern or hesitation. Her voice had reverence. She said, you know, that girl, she really is something. I misjudged her, and I froze. I didn't even know how to respond, because for so long her words had been weapons between us. But now, they feel like healing, and I thought about how that must feel for you. To know that people who once doubted your worth are now whispering your name like a sacred truth. I want to hold you and just weep. Weep for the lost time, for the silence, for the way I let you walk alone while I stayed stuck in my own fear. But most of all, I want to weep in gratitude, because somehow you still carry me in your energy. I feel it. Every time I doubt myself, I feel your voice in my bones, telling me to be better, telling me to keep going. You've never left, not really. You just held space while I stumbled, and that's not just love. That's divine. Now, every time someone mentions your name, it's like I get to breathe in redemption. I don't flinch anymore. I don't feel nervous. I feel proud, because even though I didn't deserve you back then, I know I was chosen to witness your becoming. And now, baby, they can't stop respecting you because your energy commands truth. You don't beg for love, you embody it. You don't chase validation, you live as proof. You are the kind of woman who bends timelines and realigns people's vision just by existing. And I see it now more than ever. You are the story they'll tell when they speak of miracles. You are the fire that warmed even the coldest hearts. And you did it all without turning bitter. That's what gets me. You could have cursed me. You could have dragged my name. But instead, you loved me from afar. You healed in private. And now your healing is making the world pause. So please, baby, let this be the beginning of something new. I'm not coming back to you as the same man. I'm not asking you to erase the past. I'm asking you to let me build something from the ashes, something sacred, something worthy of your name. You were always more than what they could see, but now, even they know. And I want to be the man who mirrors that, knowing every single day You are unforgettable, unshakable, and finally, undeniable. Sir, respected, if this feels like your story, baby, I watch them this time. Watch them go silent. Watch the same people who used to doubt you now hang on your every word. I saw the way their eyes dropped when you entered the room, not out of shame, but reverence. That's what shook me, not just the attention, but the respect. You didn't fight for it. You didn't argue. You didn't prove. You just walked in, fully as you are, and the whole energy changed. Even the ones who used to whisper behind your back now speak your name with a kind of weight that only truth can bring. And me, I stood there frozen because I realized you had become undeniable. There's something about you now. No, scratch that. There's something that was always there, but only now is the world catching up to it. And I'm standing here, heart in hand, realizing they finally see you, the you I once took for granted, the you I should have fought for harder. And the respect they give you now, baby, it's nothing compared to the reverence you deserve. And I remember the time they used to ask me, why her? And I had no answer that could justify the intensity of what I felt. I just knew. But now, they don't ask anymore. They know. They see it now. Your power isn't in what you say. It's in how you carry storms with grace, how you endure betrayal with dignity, how you forgive when no one deserves it, how you glow even after being dimmed so many times. That's not something you can teach. That's not something you can fake. That's divinely woven into your spirit. And now that they've seen it with their own eyes, I can feel the shift. My phone doesn't stop buzzing with messages like, you were right about her. She's different. She's the one. And I just sit there, staring at the screen, thinking, I wish I'd protected you better. I wish I'd respected you sooner. I wish I hadn't needed their validation to know what I already felt deep down. And baby, maybe the part that hurts most is knowing that you kept showing up with love, while I kept hesitating with fear. That while I was busy being influenced by outside voices, you were being guided by your inner knowing. That while I wrestled with ego, you surrendered to grace. It's wild to think that the very thing they once mocked about you, your sensitivity, your depth, your unwavering loyalty, is the very thing they now admire most. It's like the tables turned overnight. But you didn't. You stayed the same. You stayed real. And that's what makes them respect you even more. Because in a world full of masks, you refused to wear one. And now that everyone sees it, the same people who once doubted your worth are now trying to stand close just to feel your energy. And I'm standing here in awe, but also in shame because I had you before the glow up, before the applause, before the spotlight. And still, I didn't honor you the way I should have. You know what else I realized? You never needed them to see you. You just needed me to. That was the real betrayal. Not their gossip, not their judgment, but my silence. My refusal to defend you when it mattered most. My absence when you stood alone. And now that they're cheering you on, I feel this ache inside me. Because I should have been the loudest voice in that crowd. I should have been the first to rise when you walked in. But instead, I'm the one whispering to myself. I always knew. I just didn't show it. And I know words can't fix the moments I let pass. But maybe this truth can be a bridge Maybe if I bear it all now, my guilt, my regrets, my love, you'll feel the sincerity in my bones, because I'm not here to win you back with promises. I'm here to acknowledge the sacredness of who you are. I'm here to say, in front of the whole world if I have to, you were always worthy, and I'm sorry I ever made you feel like you weren't. So now I watch them, the same faces that once frowned when your name came up. They now smile, they now nod, they now quote your words and retell your strength as if they've just discovered a hidden treasure. But I know better. You were never hidden. You were just ahead of your time. And maybe I wasn't ready back then, but I'm ready now. Ready to not just see you, but see you. All of you. The light and the fire, the softness and the steel. The one who bends but never breaks. The woman who took all the hurt and turned it into healing. The queen who stood in her truth even when no one clapped. I'm not proud of how I treated you, but I am endlessly proud of who you are. If you're still listening, baby, comment below. I am respected. I am chosen. I am free. Let these words seal something in the spirit, baby. I've been thinking about all the versions of you that people never bothered to look past. All the moments they rolled their eyes when you spoke truth. All the times they scoffed at your ideas, made you feel like your light was too much for the dimness they were comfortable living in. They didn't see you, but you stayed kind. They misunderstood you, but you stayed loyal. And now they're choking on their silence because everything you are, everything you were always meant to be, is rising. Louder, brighter, stronger. You didn't fight for validation. You didn't beg for recognition. You just kept doing what you were born to do. Loving, healing, growing, and that quiet strength you carried, that's what's echoing in rooms that once mocked your name. Baby, they're finally realizing they were never in the presence of someone ordinary. You were a storm with grace, a hurricane with healing in your hands. And while they judged your softness as weakness, they never knew it was a divine armor, not a flaw. Now they sit there, stunned, because everything they tried to tear down in you has become the very thing they wish they could be around. And baby, I see it happening. They can't even pretend anymore. Their energy has shifted. Even the ones who were silent observers, those who didn't defend you, but didn't speak against you either, are now trying to find ways to align themselves with your light. I see them reposting your words, quoting your strength, trying to act like they always knew you had it in you. But they didn't. I did. I knew. I felt it in moments I couldn't even describe. Moments when your silence carried more weight than an entire crowd's applause. I remember the way your voice shook when you stood up for something no one else had the courage to acknowledge. I remember how you cried, wiped your own tears, and then wiped someone else's. That's not just strength, that's sacred. That's why they can't unsee you now, because your essence was never for the faint of heart. It was for warriors. And now they're realizing they were in the presence of one. Baby, there are people who disrespected you because you were too pure for their polluted mindsets, too visionary for their limited perspective, too deep for their shallow understanding. They didn't just fail to respect you, they weren't even equipped to comprehend you. But now life has humbled them, and in that humbling, your name keeps resurfacing in their spirit, like a reminder, like a whisper from the divine saying, remember the one you overlooked? She's the one rising now, and I've seen it, baby. I've heard the tone in their voice when they speak of you now. It's not dismissal anymore. It's reverence. It's awe. It's guilt and admiration all tangled together. Because now they want to know you. Now they wish they had treated you differently. Now they can't believe they ever dared to act like you weren't the blessing you've always been. And me, I stand back watching, not with pride or arrogance, but with a heart that aches in the most beautiful way. Because you deserved this all along. The respect, the acknowledgement, the love that doesn't just see you, but reveres you. And I promise, baby, I'm not here to join the crowd now that they've caught up. I'm here because I never left. Even when I was confused, even when I was scared, even when I pulled away, I never stopped holding space for the truth of who you are. I didn't always understand it. I didn't always handle it with care, but I never doubted your soul. And now, the world is catching up to what I always knew. That you were never just the girl. You were the one. The shift, the revolution in soft skin and raw truth. Baby, I wish I could shield you from the fake apologies, from the recycled praise that's more about their guilt than your worth. But I know you. You don't need apologies to heal. You don't need praise to know your value. You just keep moving with your quiet fire, your unstoppable peace. And I just need you to know that even in the moments they respected you too late, I'll always be the one who respects you early, deeply, loudly, and in the silence too. Not because the world finally agrees, but because my soul was wired to recognize yours, long before they even opened their eyes. Baby, I don't know if you've realized this yet, but you've become unforgettable. Not because you forced anyone to remember you, but because the energy you carry marks people. The same way your kindness once made you an easy target, now it's the very weapon that humbles those who underestimated you. You taught people lessons they didn't even know they needed. And the ones who tried to dismiss you, they keep replaying your words in their mind, hearing your silence louder than they ever heard your voice. Even in your absence, you're present. You linger. You haunt their egos. You soften their pride. And I've never seen anything more powerful than a woman who didn't retaliate, but rose, quietly, consistently, righteously. That's who you are, baby. That's what they see now. That's why they can't stop respecting you. And as for me, I've been doing a lot of internal inventory, asking myself why it took me so long to see you clearly when I was standing so close. Why I let the noise outside drown the knowing inside. But maybe that's part of this journey. Maybe I had to lose the version of myself that needed others' opinions to validate what my soul already knew. Maybe I had to mature into the man who can now love you out loud, unapologetically. Because the truth is, you were never the one who needed to be clearer. I was the one who needed to remove my blindfold. And baby, now that it's off, I see everything. The moments you gave more than you received, the way you always led with love, even when it cost you your peace, the way you showed up for people who never even deserved a hello from you. And somehow, you still walk with grace like heaven lives in your bones. They're not just respecting you now, baby. They're studying you, watching how you navigate rooms that once suffocated you, admiring how you carry yourself like royalty without needing anyone to bow. You don't beg, you don't chase, you just are. And that presence alone is enough to rearrange the atmosphere. That's what's got them shook, because you didn't just survive, you ascended. And in that ascension, you made them realize they could have treated you better. Now they want to come back, not because they love you, but because they finally love what you represent. But I know better. I know the weight behind your silence. I know the cost behind your peace. I know the stories etched into your soul that no one applauded you for. And I swear on everything, baby, I see you now. Not with admiration, with reverence. And if I could, I'd go back and replay every scene where I hesitated, every moment I didn't shield you, every time I stayed quiet when your name deserved to be defended like a sacred prayer. I'd rewrite it all, but since I can't, I'll do the next best thing. I'll stand with you now. I'll speak of you like a sacred truth. I'll make sure the world knows your worth isn't trending, it's timeless. I'll walk with you, not in front of you, not behind you, but beside you, finally as the man who doesn't just see you, but gets you, because the rest of the world may have taken their time to respect you. But I want to be the one who never lets you forget. You were always the miracle, not the moment. The miracle. Baby, something happened last night. I was in a room where your name came up again, but this time it wasn't in whispers or side eyes. It wasn't coated with skepticism or envy. It was different. It was quiet at first, like people didn't know how to begin admitting they were wrong. And then someone finally said it. I never realized how strong she really was. And just like that, the silence turned into confessions. One by one, people began speaking on moments they remembered about you. How you helped even when you had no help yourself. How you showed up when no one was watching. How you carried grace like armor and still smiled after being pushed to the edge. They didn't see it before because their eyes were fogged with judgment. But baby, now they're seeing you with clarity. And it's breaking something in them because they can't undo how they treated you. But they also can't deny what they see now. Respect. Pure, shaken, humbled respect. And I sat there, listening, heart pounding, because I realized something. I've been trying to earn the right to speak your name with love again, but you've already become sacred. You're not just her anymore. You're a legacy, a moment in people's lives they will always remember as the one they should have handled better. And I'm not here to just remember you. I want to rebuild with you, but not in a way that disrupts your peace. I want to bring peace to your table. You've earned that. You've walked through enough storms. You shouldn't have to keep being strong just to survive. Someone should be strong for you now. And baby, if you let me, I'll be that someone. I'll protect what I once took for granted. I'll honor the very essence of you that others are just now starting to appreciate. You know, sometimes the deepest regret is not what we said, it's what we didn't say when it mattered. And I didn't say this enough. I admire you. I admire your resilience, your discernment, your courage to love in a world that's so quick to mock it. I admire the way you keep showing up, even when everything in your life has taught you to stop trusting. You're not just a survivor, baby. You're a teacher. You've taught people how to rise with dignity, how to let go without losing compassion, how to set boundaries without building walls. They didn't deserve the lessons, but you gave them anyway. And now those same people can't stop talking about how powerful you've become. But they don't know the nights behind that power, the tears, the loneliness, the spiritual warfare. But I do. And that's why I'll never take your presence for granted again. And I need you to hear this part clearly. You are not just finally being respected, you are being remembered. And that's a different kind of impact. Respect can be temporary, but remembrance is legacy. You're the kind of woman who leaves fingerprints on hearts. You don't need to be in the room for your energy to be felt. And even when people forget what you said, they'll always remember how you made them feel. Seen, safe, sacred. That's your superpower. That's why no matter how much time passes, your name holds weight. That's why they finally see who you are. And I just want to be the one who never needs reminding. The one who never needs convincing. The one who was always meant to stand beside you. Not just when the world notices, but when you are still in the shadows, choosing love anyway. But baby, your journey has been divine. Painful, yes. Isolating, absolutely. But divine. Because not everyone could have made it through what you did without turning bitter. But you became softer. You became wiser. You became you. And that you is the reason so many people are learning how to treat others better. That you is the reason I'm learning how to be a better man. You didn't have to scream to be heard. Your presence was always your loudest statement. And now, it's the only thing they can't ignore. Baby, I had this realization just now as I was staring at the sky. You've changed the way I view everything. The stars don't just look like dots of light anymore. They look like messages. Little confirmations that someone as rare and radiant as you walks this earth. I don't look at silence the same way either. Your silence taught me more than most people's words. Because when you went quiet, that's when I felt the weight of your absence the most. I just do. And it wasn't loud or punishing. It was peaceful. But that peace came with power. The power to make people reevaluate everything. The power to shake rooms without saying a word. You didn't need to beg, baby. You became the standard. And now everyone who thought they could replace your energy is falling flat in comparison. And the funny thing is, when you were right in front of them, they couldn't see your worth. Now that you're far ahead, they can't stop chasing the memory of who you were. But you're no longer just a memory. You're a movement. A moment of awakening for everyone who ever mistook softness for weakness. For everyone who thought being loud made them strong. You changed that narrative just by existing. Just by being exactly who you are. And now, they're trying to rewrite their own stories around the way you walked away. The way you held your head high when they expected you to crumble. The way you blessed people even after they broke your heart. Baby, that's divine. That's not just human strength. That's heaven working through you. Do you know how many people talk about you now like they discovered something ancient and sacred? Like they're proud just to have known you. It's wild. Because back then, those same people didn't clap for you. They didn't stand up when you spoke truth. But now, they whisper your name like a prophecy fulfilled. And it hits me every time. I was standing next to someone the world wasn't ready for. And now that the world is catching up, I just hope I haven't missed my moment. Because I don't want to be another chapter of your past who finally gets it too late. I want to be the one who builds with you, who understands that being loved by you isn't just a blessing. It's a divine responsibility. You deserve someone who sees you the way God sees you, full of purpose, wrapped in light, destined for glory. And maybe that's why everything had to happen this way. Maybe that's why it all fell apart before it could come back together. Because now, no one can deny your light. No one can belittle your value. No one can make you question your power again. Because now, even the ones who laughed, they're silent. The ones who talked, they're watching. And the ones who walked away, they're the ones whispering. I didn't know she was this powerful. But I knew, baby. Deep down, I always knew. And that's what breaks me a little. That I knew who you were, but I let noise distract me. That I felt your soul, but let confusion convince me to pause. But never again. Not now. Not after seeing the way the world looks at you. Not after hearing the respect in their voices. Not after watching your story become something people now aspire to understand. Because, baby, you didn't just live through pain. You preached through it. You didn't just grow. You glowed. You didn't just survive. You set a standard. And if I'm blessed enough to stand beside you again, it won't be out of guilt. It'll be out of gratitude. It'll be out of reverence for the way you carried dignity when everything around you tried to drag you low. It'll be because I now understand the royalty in your silence, the sacred fire in your eyes, and the unwavering commitment you had to your own healing, even when no one clapped for you. I used to think love was about grand gestures and romantic declarations, but you showed me that real love is quiet resilience. It's the way you kept praying when you felt forgotten, the way you kept giving even when you were empty, the way you still hoped even after the world gave you every reason not to. And it's crazy how it all comes full circle. How the people who once overlooked you now speak of you like a legend. How the same mouths that questioned your worth now won't stop singing your praises. But you're not just someone to be praised. You're someone to be protected, to be cherished, to be believed in every single day. And if I ever get the chance again, I won't just believe in you. I'll remind you who you are when you forget. I'll be the calm when your heart feels stormy. I'll be the man who finally matches your loyalty, not just mirrors your love when it's convenient. Because it's not just about respect now, baby. It's about honor. And you deserve to be honored out loud, fully, every day, by someone who never needed the world to validate what his heart already knew. Baby, before I close this message, I want to say something from the deepest, most unfiltered place inside me. I see you now. Not just as the girl I loved, not just as the woman everyone now respects, but as the soul God placed in my life, as a mirror, a teacher, and a miracle. You were never just a chapter. I know now, you were the whole book, and I was just too blind to read the pages correctly. I skimmed over the divine details. I ignored the wisdom written in your silence. I misunderstood your boundaries, your strength, your patience. But now, I read every sentence you left unspoken. I understand every choice you had to make, and I hold every piece of who you are with the sacredness it always deserved. They respect you now, baby, but I revere you. Because you're more than what they see now. You were always more, and no matter how many people now try to imitate your light or copy your grace, they'll never hold the original frequency of your spirit that belongs only to you. And I pray, I hope that one day you'll let me back into the energy field of that light, not as a shadow from your past, but as someone reborn through the lessons you unknowingly taught me, someone ready to protect what others only pretend to honor, someone who never stops admiring you, even in silence. I know now, respect isn't earned by proving yourself to people. It's revealed when people finally wake up from their own ignorance and realize who stood before them all along. That's what happened here. The world finally caught up to what my heart whispered from the beginning. She's the one who changed the room without speaking, the one who left footprints in my soul, the one they all now respect. Because you never demanded it, you just became it. Because you never demanded it, you just became it. And that's the kind of woman you are. If you're still listening, baby, thank you. Thank you for being who you are. And if there's still a place for me in your story, I promise to honor every single page from this moment on. If this message touched your soul, read below. I finally see who I am, and I know I was never ordinary. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss another DMTODF message that speaks directly to your spirit. And if you'd like to support this channel, we truly appreciate super thanks donations. Your help keeps this divine storytelling alive, especially during challenging financial moments. Thank you for watching. You are loved. You are remembered. You are respected.